This will be an update to my garden. I haven't made a garden video for feels like weeks and weeks and weeks. Anyway, at this point things are doing really well. I've been absent a handful of times, but I've left the care of my garden in the hands of people that have been able to keep it growing with adequate water. Okay, so let's go into it. So I'm inside the hoop house. The cover's been removed. But these 6 boxes used to have spinach in them, and the spinach has had its life cycle, and I removed it, and I've put in its place different kinds of squash. Over here, my onions are still doing well. Rhubarb, I've pulled out a lot of the old growth. It's been chomped on by grasshoppers. Over here, my sorrel is still doing great. I keep watering it and feeding it to the birds. They love it. This right here is cilantro. You wouldn't tell by the way it looks, and I wouldn't have even known. I would not have even known unless I had grown it. But at this point, it's going to seed, and so I'm going to let it finish that process, and I'll keep the seed. More onions here. These potatoes, these were growing since practically February. And I could probably harvest these sometime soon. They've had like a month and a half, 2-month head start. They're kind of in poor condition. That's because they underwent a little bit of freezing, but they recovered to a point. I'm going to harvest these soon. And here, these beds used to have peas, but they've had their life cycle. I will be putting something in here, haven't determined what. So this spot used to have peas as well. I have since removed the peas, and we'll be saving a lot of the peas for further planting. But I have replaced the peas with tomato, eggplant, and pepper. Now the eggplant and tomatoes are doing really well. The peas, the pepper, they're kind of a slower kind of growing thing as far as my experience goes. They kind of move slow and then they take off. These sunflowers, I didn't plant them intentionally, but I've been keeping them going. It's not the ideal way. You don't necessarily want to have 10 sunflowers in the same pot, but I've let it happen. I just keep them watered, and they attract pollinators, of course, so that's a good thing. Over here, surrounding my big boulder, I have blueberries that I've been eating off of. They're doing okay. I think they need more acidic soil. The yellowing could be an indication of not the perfect soil environment. Plus, maybe I'm overwatering. But they're yielding some great little fruit. These are trees that need to be transplanted. And I think this is one of the melons. But I had 5 seeds together, so this is not going to be an awesome grower because they're just competing too much. I'm going to let it happen anyway. Anyway, we've got more squash in here. A lot of squash this year. Here's some more tomatoes here. This guy's doing really well. These are stunted. These were basically attacked by grasshoppers. A lot of the ends of the branches have been just decimated. And again, this soil, I don't know. This soil is not the happiest place for these guys. And here are my mammoth Russian, now taller than I am. This guy's probably 6.5 feet tall. Dang, they're big plants. They're awesome. They will soon have a large flower. But I have added straw to the base of these to help keep the moisture in. Just as an update with my raspberries, I have yet to see any flowers. But I am noticing lots of grasshoppers munching all over my leaves, really beating the crap out of my raspberries and my blackberries. In fact, here's a grasshopper right here. Nope. If I can get him, I'll feed him to the birds. I've fed dozens of the birds. Strawberries doing really well. They are more interested at this point in spreading. They're producing some strawberries, but at this point I'm letting them basically spread. I'm more interested in seeing them spread. I know that you can cut the runners off and then they'll concentrate more on production, but I want to have them spread. And along the fence here, Jerusalem artichoke. This box here in particular had an excessive amount of clay. And hey, again, like I say, this is all an experiment until it matters. Clay, too much clay, not good. It's not. This is the least productive box, I would say. It's the growth of it has been the slowest, and I imagine what's happening underground is also kind of lagging behind. This is the shortest bunch of plants I have in this series of 6 boxes. Anyway, a lot of curling with this plant. Now I know curling occurs when things dry out. We've had a lot of wind, so I'm watering quite a lot lately. But one good thing about this series of 6 boxes is we finally have a flower. And this is not a sunflower. This is a Jerusalem artichoke flower. And in fact, it's almost indistinguishable from a sunflower. I mean, you would think that was a sunflower, but it's not. And apparently, these put off seed. So seed and the tubers can both give you the opportunity to spread this plant, this marvelous plant. My outdoor potatoes, as you see here, some of them have flowered as well. I didn't realize potatoes flowered, but hey, I'm learning. I'm learning. It looks like something's chomping on my flowers even. Yeah, damn, the grasshoppers are doing it. Or something else, but I'm sure it's the grasshoppers. But these are doing awesome. They're growing really well. And here are some more of my Russian mammoth, or mammoth Russian, one of the two. They're not as tall, but these were planted later than the first batch. Same thing was done here. I put straw down in there to help retain moisture. And as an update to the box I put out here for flowers, I planted 18, let's just say less than prime potted flowers, and more than half of them made it. Now I'm going to take you into the last area, which is my greenhouse, and I'll show you what's happening in here. So what's happening in here is awesome things are happening. My tomatoes are doing really well in here. I wish they had maybe 2 more hours of light. You know, the sun, as it crosses across the sky, there's times of the day where this doesn't get direct sunlight, but my tomatoes are doing quite well. And I've caged them early. Jeez, how many times have I in the past just caged when they were this big and you end up harming the plants? I got peppers, and I mixed the peppers inadvertently with eggplants. So the eggplant's gonna outgrow the pepper, and anyway, a little bit of a foul up here, but not a huge deal. And this little setup, I had probably 50, 60 potted plants. And in my absence, I put them in this pool, and I filled the pool with like 2-3 inches of water, and it kept the plants alive. They just, well, the bottom of these pots have holes in them, and they were able to suck up the water as needed. And over here, we've got zucchini, and there are some honeydew melon, and probably a cucumber or two, I think. But mostly what I have here is like squash. And we even have some growth already. This is a yellow squash. Anyway, good stuff happening in here. So this is the update in my garden, July 4th. Broccoli, I'm not that familiar with broccoli, but the chickens sure love the leaves. I'm not getting like a head of broccoli as you might imagine them. You get them at the store. Kind of just little clusters here and there, and sometimes I just take a bite off the top. And more squash. So lots of squash this year. Anyway, thanks for joining me again in my yard. I love to grow. I love to see things grow, and I love to keep them growing. I am experiencing pretty nasty onslaught of a particular pest, and that's the grasshopper. The grasshopper is having a field day with my berries. And the only thing I can think of to cut their numbers down is to catch them and feed them to my birds. And so far, that's what I've been doing. All right, thanks again. Bye-bye.